Hi everyone, very good morning, good evening. Can somebody confirm if I'm audible and visible? Yes, all right, okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so a lot of advanced Diwali wishes to you all and welcome to this. So we are waiting for our speaker today. Our speaker is a very special one today because we have a woman data scientist today who will be talking to us. Okay, I see a lot of Dhanteras wishes as well. So yeah, happy Dhanteras to everybody. All right. Okay, so yeah, so coming back to our speaker, so we have a very special guest today, and we have Dr. Pal Kaur, who comes with over a decade of experience in ML industry. She has not only worked in one domain; she has worked in multiple domains, varying from telecommunication to marketing and sales to finance. So there are multiple domains that she has worked on, and she has also a lot of you are coming after a career break and then getting into this field, so she has also gone that path, and she'll be able to share insights on that. So Savinder, welcome to the Odin Talk today. Thanks for being with us. Can you confirm if you can hear me and see me well?
Yes. Hi, hi.
Hi, we can see you as well. Thank you. So, welcome, Savinder, to the Odin Talk. And, we have an audience today who are looking to get started in the field that you have already been in. So, they are looking at the mountain that you have already, kind of conquered. So, it's lovely to have you here. And we already have some questions that are coming in from the students. But before we do that, would you want to tell us about your journey of, being in this field? How did you begin? And things were not the same as they are right now. So probably, if you can share about your journey so far, that would be great.
Sure. Thank you, Pooja. So, hello everyone. I am Sawinder Pal Kaur, and my journey in this field started a long back. So, after completing my PhD in applied mathematics, I came to India. And initially, I thought, okay, I will start with academics and I'll start teaching as I've done my PhD and all that. But so I started teaching, but then I realized that this is not a fun anymore. I mean, or I was not finding it interesting. So I thought, okay, now this is a time when I would like to change or do something else. Uh, I see a note saying jitter voice. Is my voice clear to everyone?
Yes, Savinder, I can hear you well. Sneha, can you confirm?
Yes, Savinder, it's clear. Can you try?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, for some it's echoing.
Uh,
Whoever is having the connection issue, probably, you might want to join again. So I think the voice is quite clear. Yes, Avidya, please continue.
yeah. So then I moved into this field, and I'm talking about 2011 or 2012. Rather, 2011 is when I decided that I would like to go into this field because this was very interesting for me. I always liked application side of math. I always like these patterns and logics. I always find them very interesting. So that's where my journey in this field started. Initially, I started with, I mean, I I started with open source platforms like Kaggle, Crowdsource Analytics, and others, and that were there at that point of time. So I started participating in those platforms. I also started doing some freelancing project. There weren't many at that point of time, but there were whatever it was available, I was doing. My point here is that I was doing a lot of hands-on at that point of time, and that's how my journey started. Then slowly I built up, and then I joined a startup. There, my major contribution was to provide trainings, boot camps, and create the content for data science and machine learning. That point of time, it was more of a data science than machine learning. And I started teaching also. That was a good experience. I did it for a year, and then I joined the Cell India, right? And I started my journey like it was a. Then I was getting into this these projects, right? The customer project, customer handling, doing machine learning for the customer, getting into uh, getting into this real world data, right? And then after Shell, I joined SAP Labs India. There again, my journey continued, and yeah, that's been my journey. And now, initially, I was more into building algorithms and you can say building algorithm, more of a productization and uh, sometimes doing what we call as prototyping or POCs. Later, as I moved into this journey, I progressed through it. My role also required to handle stakeholders, business partners, and customers, communicating the results. Now, communicating the results to the customers is a very interesting part, which is that's where you really need your soft skills to be good at, so that you can explain them well. And that's I slowly enhanced my skills. And during this journey, I've been involved in entire life cycle of machine learning product development and deployment. So how that entire process start with a business problem or business concept, right? And just try to understand what customer is asking, and then convert it into a ML problem or math problem. Then take the journey from there, build the prototype, build the product, deploy it at the customer side, convey the results to them. So in this is what I've been doing, and uh, did it in many domains, right? I mean, being in finance, marketing and sales, telecommunications, oil and gas, chemical, uh, academics, then transformers. A lot of domains I have worked with, right? Yeah.
Sure. Sure. So I think that's a vast variety of domains, and Savinder, I'm sure technology has also evolved over time. So do you agree that it has evolved, or do you think that there is a lot more that it will be very soon?
No,
Is this the
it has evolved. When I started my journey at that point of time, it was more of a data science. When I'm saying data science, I'm talking about the uh, algorithms that are majorly used in statistics and economics, linear regression, logistic regression, and then we have chi-square test and like the ANOVA and all that, right? Slowly it moved to more of a machine learning or advanced machine learning algorithms when these ensemble method came, random forest came, after that gradient boost came, then cat boost came, and all the advanced methods are there now. And people are majorly using those because their performances are good. And now we have explainability also with them using the chef values or the line values. So that is also there. And after this, the deep learning came, right? Not every problem was solved by deep learning, but deep learning still was a very useful algorithms to move forward. A lot of uh, problems were being solved using deep learning. And now we are here at GenAI, which has changed a lot of people's perspective, right? And it's a yeah, it's altogether a completely new thing a new thing in the sense that in terms of machine learning or the way we used to think about machine learning, it has changed it, right? So now we are looking at the Gen AI era, that how it will evolve in future.
Right. Sure. So, Savinder, I think so. In so with ML, what are the different roles that we can go into? So, like what role ML plays in the field of data analyst or data engineer? So, how important it is, and to what level we should be knowing it for different. So, if you can help us understand the different roles that are there in data science, and how what role does ML plays in that?
Yeah. So yep. So you're right. So there is data analyst. There are data engineers, then there are machine learning engineers or data scientists, as we call them, right? And then sometimes people get involved into the big data architecture. That role is also there. Then now, after the Gen AI, there are roles like prompt engineering. Those who can do a well prompt engineer. Right? So if you look at some of the job opportunities, they will say good in prompt engineering. So this is the more recent one because Gen AI just introduced. Yeah. But let's go back to some of the older roles. So data analyst is where we look at the data, we create a lot of analysis out of that data. Analysis in terms of bar chart, pie chart, some other kind of graphs, waterfall graphs, and all that. And we build a lot of statistics like averages, and we do some sums and etc. So this is majorly to get an insight from an existing data. That's what the data analysts do. Then we come to data engineers. Data engineers is where from the raw data, we create a data that is being used for the machine learning algorithms. So raw data, let's say you're working in a field, right? Let's say credit card. So credit card provider, let's say Visa or any company, right? They will keep the data in many different files, maybe customers' name and location and all the static data, they will keep it in one file. Then the kind of transaction a person is doing, that will be kept in different file. Then there will be how many, whether he has applied a loan or whether some transactions were done in some other years or some outside, let's say out of India, for an example. So they'll keep it in different files. So given all that, different transactions will be kept in different files, static data will be kept in different files. So let's say you get some 40 or different files, right, where the data is being kept. So now data engineer's job will be to take those raw data and combine it and put it in a single file, right? So that's what engineering will be doing. The skills required will be your coding skills, right? So maybe you're using SQL or you are using Python or any other language in which one is working, right? And apart from that, they will need the domain knowledge, a good understanding of the domain of the process that is being involved, and that normally is being obtained either via Google and searching it or using your customer stakeholder. So they will provide you the domain knowledge and processes, how they built, and based after looking at process and all that, we combine them together and put it in a single file. And then they also work very closely with data scientists. Data scientist role is little different than data engineer. Data engineer is more involved into building the data. Now, data scientist is more involved into building the machine learning pipelines. So here, the data scientist should have a very good knowledge of the algorithm, whatever algorithm the scientist is working on, so that he should know how algo work, how different parameters are there, how to do the hyperparameter tuning. All that knowledge one should have, together with the coding knowledge. Coding is required, maybe not a very object-oriented coding knowledge. A functional coding should be there, right? So that part is necessary. Lot of help is available online these days, so it's not like a deterrent for a data scientist to acquire that knowledge also. Then, but data scientists is now think of them as they need to create a pipeline. Pipeline meaning, let's say you're solving a problem. So you got the data now. How will you solve the problem? Apart from calling the algorithms, there will be some other logics that one has to keep it in mind. That how to build those logics. And sometimes these algorithms they don't work out of the box. So we need to transform the data also. And then sometimes some of the algorithms works with some normalization things, and some of them they work with other normalization. So all that should be open for all the logics and all the pipeline, and that's where sometimes an automation within that pipeline, right? Selecting the feature, giving it to machine learning algo and all that, getting the output and output in a desired format. I mean, output when I'm saying desired format, it doesn't mean that just take the numbers and throw it at the UI. It means make them so that the end user can understand. Right? So that all data scientist skills are there. Then I said big data architecture. Big data architecture is somewhere where the Hadoop, MongoDB, and all this comes in, right? Where you practically deal with a huge amount of data, right? How distributed computing works, right? How file system comes, how we can see those algorithms that work traditionally. When we go to big data, the algorithms changes a lot, right? Because of the sheer amount of data. Which is, for an example, if you guys are still studying, let's say, clustering. So k-means will work only up to, I think, 10 lakhs of records or something like that. After that, it will start showing you errors because of the Euclidean distance calculations and all that. So then there is something else that is there that can cope up with a huge amount of data, right? So that is there. This all comes under big data. So one can go if something like this appeals. Once you are in that direction, this is a very interesting field. One can go into that also. Then, as I said, the very recent one is GenAI. GenAI is where large language models are involved. For an example, very simple is ChatGPT. Now, how to ask right kind of questions to ChatGPT is a skill. Now, building an API or building an application on top of or building an application using ChatGPT is a skill. So these skills are relative to GenAI. That is now it is there, right? So how very simple is so what is your ChatGPT? ChatGPT is a simple application, web application built on a large language model, right? So you can take any other large language model and how to use it and build another application on top of it. This is something now we are seeing. And we are also seeing how to do a good prompt engineering, right? The prompt engineering meaning how to ask different questions or correct kind of questions to these things. So these are a little bit about the roles, different roles, and depending upon one's interest, everything is good. So it shouldn't be like one is better than other. Depends upon everybody's interest. One can go in that particular direction.
Sure, Sawinder. So I think you have told about the different roles, data engineer, data analyst, then data scientists, big data architectures, then coming to Gen AI. So yeah, so I think in every field, in every role, machine learning is required, to some or the other level. So yeah.
Basic knowledge of machine learning is needed. Whatever role one wants to go in, a basic level is, one should have an idea.
Sure. Okay. So Safinder, we know that you come from applied mathematics field, but a lot of our students come from different fields. So one question that we are getting, how much of math is required to get into the field of ML? And if they're coming from a different field, will they be able to survive in this?
Actually, we will leave Gen AI aside. Let's talk about traditional ML AI. Okay. Then, if you're going for data scientist role, then then should be comfortable with the math. Not lot of it is needed, but one shouldn't be scared of stat and math. That is one thing. Make yourself comfortable. Now, how do you make yourself comfortable? So, very first idea is idea of a probability. Right? If you toss a coin, what will happen? This can also happen. That can also happen. Right? So, the probabilistic idea. I'm not saying to read about probability distribution, joint probability distribution. That is just too deep. Right? Most of the time, data scientists roles that are out there in the industry, they don't require all that. Few roles they require, but most of them they don't require. So a good, if somebody is comfortable with, let's say, class 11, class 12 calculus, chain rule, differential calculus and all that, right? That is good. A basic stat, those who might have studied engineering, who might have studied it in their first year, right? The probabilities and the normal distribution and what does it mean when we are saying a binary distribution and all that? Simple maths, simple stat. So if somebody, in my language, I call it as like introduction to stat and math is just unique. You don't need a very deep one, right? And if you're going for data engineering kind of a role or data analyst, then you don't need that, right? It's very little of the rest like mean, median, mode, everybody knows it kind of thing. So that kind of stat is needed. So that is needed in every stage of math, every role of data science.
Sure. Sure. So, Savinder, one question that we are getting is, so we have some students who are coming from different backgrounds. So some of them are from chemical engineering as well. So how does a chemical engineer get into an MR? How does it look for a chemical engineer to get into an ML role, and how he or she should be approaching an opportunity in that field?
Yeah, first of all, one shouldn't be scared. One should have a simple attitude that I can learn it, and this is it, right? So, as I said, uh, if you are going for data engineering job, focus on coding, right? Focus on coding and then see if you are able. If see, data engineers are something like they should understand the domain well and should be able to join the tables and all that. That's all. So, so this is my point. This is my point is this one should be comfortable. If you are going with data scientist role, then it needs a little more. Should know the coding. Then on top of that, in addition to that, I will say know a beginner level stat or math, so that if an algo is talking about something, one should have an idea what does it do. Most of the time, one has to call these algorithms using Python. Most of the time, it is being used. So, but when you are calling an algorithm, let's say scikit-learn or something, they should be aware what are the hyperparameters involved, what they do, and how to tune them, and what happens if I change it. For example, there is something called a learning rate. What does it mean? Right? What is stochastic gradient descent? What does it do if I change it to something Adam? Let's say if I do it Adam, then what does it do? So these kind of things one needs to learn. However, just because you have to learn, it's not daunting. It shouldn't hamper your journey. See, every journey starts with a single step. So start with basics, beginner level math and stat. Beginner level, your, let's say, logistic regression, or maybe a single variable linear regression, and build on top of it. Right? Step by step. I mean, it's the journey can be built up. The knowledge can be built up. It's like that. So since they are coming from chemical, let's say chemical engineering, so they have already seen stat math, right? Maybe they have already done some coding also, right? So the exposure is already there. So just brush up your skills. Go back, think like how it was when you were there. And these days, I mean, people are open. It's not that there are no stereotypes about it. Somebody says, yeah, if you are from chemical engineering, doesn't mean that you can't.
Sure. So Savinder, a lot of our students are also freshers. So, how easy or difficult is it for a fresher to start their journey in this field? As in, do people hire freshers in this field, or are they always looking for an experience?
No, freshers, people, companies hire freshers. Right? If you are a fresher, make sure that you're good in coding. That part is absolutely necessary, right? It will make your journey very easy, right? And people do get hired, right? They will be, because as a fresher, they will be hired for some fresher role, right? Non-experienced role. And normally these roles, how do they work? Like there will be some guide or somebody coaching them, right? So the person will have the in-depth knowledge. They don't have to worry about that. They just have to do what the person is asking, right? So how do they do it? If they already have a good coding knowledge, they can simply code and go ahead, right? And slowly, parallelly, they can learn about what they are doing, right? Let's say if somebody says go and just apply random forest, then they should just know like how to follow it, apply it, and get the results. Right? Parallelly, they can learn like what is all there. So yes, pressure do it high, and I would say just focus on coding. ML knowledge, basic ML knowledge is preferred. I mean, one should have the basic ML knowledge. There is no doubt about it. But you don't have to go into too deep in when you're starting out, right? When in your journey, you will learn eventually, right? It is needed when you're going for the data scientist role. It is needed to have that deep knowledge. However, when you're starting, just have the basic knowledge and good coding.
Sure. So good coding is something that everybody should be focusing on, whether they are freshers or they are restarting their careers. So Savinder, we also have a lot of people who are coming to they are restarting their careers. So as in they are coming to work after a break. So how they should be approaching the opportunities in the market. At the same time, what differently they should be doing to get noticed, or maybe what practices they should be doing to get at pace with the current trend.
Okay. So yeah. So as I said, like when I started it, I also took a break. Right? It was like, and then I started my journey. See, one of the things I found useful is hands-on. So focus on hands-on. I mean, in addition to building the knowledge on theoretical aspects, it is equally important to have hands-on, right? So maybe do as much projects as you can. Websites like Kaggle are also there. Do participate in those competitions. And it is, you can even mention it on your resume. If you come on a leaderboard or something, you can even mention it on your resume. So hands-on is a must. And see, after a break, when you start, at, initially you will be considered as a, if you're coming from a different field, you will be considered as a fresher or little more than fresh, but you won't be considered as expert, right? You are starting your journey in this field from a beginner's point of view only. So accept that later point in time, your experience will get counted. But when you're going into the job market, not everybody will appreciate your previous experience. There are people, those who will be saying, who will be considering you as a beginner in the MLA. I'm just talking about MLA, right? And those who are switching from a different area to MLA. So think about it, they might be working in something else, but for ML area, their journey is just starting. So even if somebody has a 4 or 5 years of experience, but in the ML area, they're beginner. So just have that mindset that you will be considered as a beginner. But that doesn't mean that you can't acquire that knowledge, right? The thing that will give you I say a little bit of thing is because you already have an experience, you know how to learn, how to move forward, right? You are not coming with some pressure's mindset. You know how to build skills. So that's where once your journey starts, you can advance quickly. That's what something I can think of. So build your resume in a way that you show that you have a theoretical knowledge, but also you have a lot of hands, so that when you are facing an interview, you can confidently answer some of the questions, right? That only comes with when you're dealing with the data. And whoever is coming in this field, see, very first thing one should be asking oneself is, am I comfortable with the data? Given an Excel with 1 million rows, right? And let's say 50 columns, am I okay looking at it? There are techniques to analyze it. So am I comfortable analyzing that kind of a data? Why I'm saying that? Because in my experience, I have seen people getting scared also, right? So once you give them an Excel, the person will be, I am getting a headache and I'm going to do it. So that should be the attitude. When you're going for ML, just have that attitude that, yeah, I'm comfortable, I can do it, right? It's just a data. It's nothing else. And I have the different techniques to analyze the data, and that's what they mean. If the median is saying something like this, so I know what median means, right? So get yourself comfortable with the notion of the data and analysis of the data. And then, yeah, the taking a break is just like when you are facing an interview, people will ask this question, why did you take a break? So it should have a good answer in the sense that some reason, right? And if you have done something during that break to utilize, maybe to build up your knowledge, you can also mention
Savinder. So I think that was really making sense because we can hear that you have also gone that path, and then that's why you're able to share these insights even better. So Savinder, I see that you have worked in multiple domains. So within the ML industry, so you have worked in different domains, varying from telecommunication to marketing and sales to oil and gas. So how does it differ from one domain to other? So, I mean, how easy or difficult it is? At the same time, what is the difference? And would you want to share the difference between the different domains that you have worked in?
that. So as a machine learning knowledge, as algorithms and the logics and uh, basic median stat and all that, it remains the same. So when we are working in different domain, let's say I'm working in one domain, so I need to acquire that knowledge. Domain knowledge goes hand in hand with your data science knowledge. So we need to understand uh, how this domain works. So that is very, very important. What are the different things that you are different columns that we are seeing in this data, and how each column, what each column means, how does it contribute in the process of that domain? What will happen is once we acquire that domain knowledge, we can better prepare the data. See, there's always like the data preparation part. Data preparation means I'm not talking about data engineering. After the data engineering part also, we have to do a feature creations, right? So there is a feature selection, feature engineering part comes in that data scientists they do. right? So good feature engineering comes from a good domain knowledge, and good feature engineering gives you a data that is representative of that population. The better the data is, the better the results are, no matter which angle you apply. So it's absolutely necessary to build a good data or do a good data engineering, feature engineering. That is a good part. After that, even if you apply simple algorithm, that will give you a good result, right? So that's where the domain knowledge becomes important. Now, your question was also like how it differs from one domain to another. It differs from the domain knowledge, and then sometimes what we see, let's say I was talking about credit card. So credit card has like single customer can have different transactions, right? So there is a static part, which is the customer information, and there is a dynamic part of the data, which are the transactions. Right? Every day, the customer or every other day, the customer might be doing some transaction. So this is where we need to understand how to handle these kind of data. It's not necessary that the domain will have an influence over it. It will be more necessary how do you deal with this such kind of data. See, this data, this kind of data can also come in, let's say, telecommunication. There are single customer make different multiple calls, right? So again, there is a static part, there is a dynamic part. So just get that understanding correct that how do you handle such data, right? And there is like time series kind of a data where you are doing something in a time, right? How over a, let's say for oil and gas is there. So oil production is there from a well, right? Oil well. Then you should know like how you handle the time series data. So again, data science knowledge, data science algorithms, they all remain the same. Domain knowledge, acquiring the domain knowledge will help you to do the feature engineering better. And that's what is needed, right? And how to handle different kind of data. So there is like, as I said, time series data, spatial data, the transactional data. These are common. These are some of the common categories that come under different domains. So if you have worked in one domain on a time series data, you can work on another domain with the same kind of a time series data. So uh, that's a commonality you can say, right? And differentiation is when you do the feature engineering. That's where the domain becomes very important.
Sure. So, Savinder, you're saying that the data remains the same. I think the way we approach it, probably, that is how in different domains it changes. Yeah. Okay. So, Savinder, also a lot of our students are shifting their careers, as in, so some of them are from life sciences and then they are moving to data science. So will it be first of all, can they get into the data science world? So I think partially you have answered that already, but I think we have a couple of questions already on it. Will their earlier domain knowledge help them? So if they were in a different domain earlier and then they are getting into data science now, so will their domain knowledge that they had earlier, will that help them in applying data science in their current field? So will that be helpful, or will that be again absolute zero for them? I mean, should they be beginning from absolute zero?
So let's take this example. Let's take an example of psychology. Let's say somebody is coming from psychology and now they would like to move into this data science field. See what is there? They have already have a psychology knowledge. In addition to psychological knowledge, now they are acquiring these math and logic skills, data science skills. So they are adding more skill set to their existing skills, right? They have acquired this new skill of data science. Now let's say they are going for they now want to do a data science project. See, the area, if they apply in an area where psychology and data science both are present, then they will be do a very they'll do a very good impact, right? However, if they are going to apply data science in a separate field where their psychology knowledge is not that much useful, then they will be only applying the data science skills. So that skill set that they have acquired earlier will not be that much useful. So maybe this answers your question, that how their earlier knowledge can be useful.
Right. Right. So it also depends on the situation they are in. So it is also, if they are getting into the same one, they'll be able to do better. However, if it is completely different, then they might have to work harder. Right. Okay. Sure. So Safinder, we also, so since a lot of our students are beginners and they're starters, so you did share in the beginning when you were telling about your journey, what are the things that you did to that helped you to start better? So I think interest you had, but then in addition to that, what helped you to get into this field faster? You did mention about participating in certain some competitions. Kaggle is definitely one of the websites that you had mentioned. So would you want to also share some other tips that can help our students?
Yeah, I mean, the underlying statement remains the same. Get as much hands-on as you can. What are the ways to get the hands-on? One is Kaggle or another crowdsourcing platform. For an example, I think Analytics Vidya also offers some hackathon, and your platform is offering hackathon. See, if you can participate in some hackathon, some other challenges, Kaggle is there. If one can get an internship, fellowship, right? Whatever ways, or maybe work in a startup who is newly starting, right? Get a project if your friend is offering you, right? There are many people who are working in certain areas. They might just want a little help in data science. Maybe they can help it there, right? And so what I'm trying to say here is underlying statement is do as much hands-on as possible, right? The real world experience or working on a data science problem is will teach you a lot. And initially, one might be appearing in many interviews. So shouldn't be like afraid of all that. This will give you an experience that what kind of question is being asked in an interview, right? Maybe these days a lot of material in terms of interview questions, right? Is available. Go through those questions, see what people are asking, just see how much you can answer. Right? Try to learn as much as you can, right? So that I mean, see, it's like when you start riding a cycle, right? How do you do it until unless you ride it? And you need to ride it on a busy road, an empty road, and not a so well. I mean, maybe in a village setting, maybe in a rural setting, maybe in a city setting, right? So what are you doing? By practicing a lot, you're gaining your experience and the confidence. So when you will have, the only thing you need is your confidence in order to face that interview. How do you build that confidence? Is the question actually. And building that confidence is through these platforms, internships. However, if you can get that, right? Or maybe some small projects, if you can get that, and facing some interviews, face it. Right? That will also add up to your experience, your personal journey.
Sure. So, hands-on experience is something which definitely should be, they should be doing it and not being scared of doing things. Right. Sure. So Savinder, would you want to share any maybe story from your experience, or maybe something that you can recollect from your career so far, which might be interesting for the beginners, or maybe which might motivate them, or any specific thing that happened, or maybe which motivated you, or anything that you can think of right now?
Which motivated me for what?
For maybe getting better, doing better in this field, or maybe any specific thing that you had a different mindset, but then it's changed your perception, or maybe that helped you to maybe anything. I know it's not easy to think it on the spot, but then again, hearing things from the horse's mouth is again the best thing. So
Yeah, maybe since we are talking about beginners and those who gonna apply, I'll share that only. So see, when I wanted to start in this direction, I appeared in a lot of interviews and I got rejected in multiple ways, right? Multiple different answers, multiple different ways people will tell me no, right? Uh, what was my attitude at that point of time? Like, I'll appear in an interview, right? Let's say if it is a technical interview. So, people will ask me questions. I'll answer some question and I won't be able to answer some questions. So I'll come back home. I'll read about those questions that I was not able to answer, at least if they are related to machine learning. Because sometimes people may ask some puzzles to solve, right? There's no ready-made answer for that. For that, you need to like apply your logic mind at that point. If you're able to solve it well enough, if not, that is also okay, right? But for data science technical things related, the questions that I was not able to answer, I'll come back home and I'll read about it. That what was asked and how do we approach it. People have even asked me to give a proof of something on the board. So I have done it. Right. So these kind of things I've faced. I've also faced rejections based upon like I didn't have any practical knowledge. So in a different speech words, people will say, so initial journey, it was all about like learning and having a right kind of attitude. Right. That was it. That was it for me. And yeah, that's what kept me going. Right. So that's slowly I learned, I built my knowledge. And it was not like even throughout this journey, whatever journey I have traveled so far, it was never like, okay, I know everything. It was never like this. And it is not going to be like this ever, right? Every problem you are solving, right? Some part of it you need to apply. It will be a challenge for you, and you need to apply some logic or something. You are solving. Think of it as your Sherlock Holmes. You're solving a puzzle or problem, right? So though you have solved a lot, but that doesn't mean that the next problem you will be it will be a piece of cake, right?
yeah.
So you will be still be applying some more knowledge to it, some more problem solving skills to it, and then moving forward. So keep learning. So having an attitude of keep learning uh, will this helped me a lot. That's what I can say.
Right. So there's no stopping to learning. I think we cannot stop to learn at any stage, especially in this field. So having the right mindset and having the right attitude is equally important, right? Yeah, sure. So, we have last few minutes left, Savinder. So would you want to throw some questions that are kind of important from interview point of view? So when somebody is going for a data science, data analyst, or data engineer role, so if you can throw some questions that are important, or maybe usually asked, by the interviewers.
It is no, it depends upon the job you're applying for, right? So one thing I can share is whatever is there on resume, right? Uh, the person should be like able to tell with full confidence that what has been done in this part and what he has done, how he has done it, what is he or she has approached, right? So whatever is there on the resume, one should know. That is a thing. And then you're asking maybe let's say if you're going for machine learning thing, then people might ask you, let's say you have written XGBoost, Then there might be some technical questions related to XGBoost, the hyperparameters and all that. So make sure that you read about it thoroughly, that how XGBoost works, and what are the different hyperparameters. Let's say there is something like a lambda, then the constant, then what does that mean, and how does it work? Or even if not, then let's say you have called it from scikit-learn, right? Then one should know like some of the hyperparameters, or something like what is gradient descent, what is stochastic gradient descent, and then different optimization technique. At least one should have an idea, right? If they don't know fully mathematically, but one should have an idea what an optimization algorithm do, right? Overall, how does it work? So these and see, basics should be very clear. When you're going for I'm not talking about currently data engineering role. I'm talking about data scientist role. What is expected is your basics should be very clear, right? When I'm saying basics, if somebody is asking what is a binary distribution and a normal distribution, one should be very clear what does a binary distribution is and how does it work. Work in the sense that if I'm applying logistic regression, what kind of distribution I'm using, right? Some of the very basic ones, or maybe let's say normal distribution, right? So, or even forget the probability question, even very basics of, let's say, logistic regression or linear regression, right? What does it mean in a linear regression when I'm saying that a particular variable affects the response variable? What does this statement mean? So make your basics very clear, right? It will help you a lot, right? When facing the T test is there, Z test is there, right? And central tendencies are there. So make sure you're very comfortable with your basics, at least for data scientist role. That's what I see.
Sure, Savinder. So I think I'll take one last question. So this is from are there work from home opportunities for data scientists? I mean, these days, are there any work from home options?
Not absolutely. Now companies are going more for the hybrid mode, right? So what I see, at least in Bangalore, that more and more companies are opting for hybrid model. There are still companies now like they are saying come to the office all 4 days or something like that. But still there are many companies that are saying hybrid model. Companies that are saying totally work from home are very less. Maybe some startups or maybe very less companies are like that. So total work from home is, I don't think so, is there too much. Second thing is meeting the team is a good part, because eventually if you are a data engineer or a data scientist, you need to work with the team, collaborate very closely. Let's say if you're working in a scrum setup, agile setup, then you need to interact with your product owner and your scrum master and everybody. Until unless you are in an R&D setup, where in R&D setup, see, you don't have these things. So there you are majorly individual contributors. So you might be dealing with some domain experts, right? But there again, you need to collaborate with the domain expert very closely. So whether you are meeting the person virtually or meeting the person in the real world, that part may differ. But yeah, there is always a teamwork. Whether you are individual contributor or a team or anything, and if you are becoming a managerial role, then too it is going to be a work from office.
Sure, Savinder. Thank you for your answers today. And Savinder, it was lovely having you. Trust me, it's like, hearing you out, probably you would have also had a recap of probably your journey. And thank you for those practical tips. I think this matters a lot, and it gives a different perspective and gives that confidence to our students that they can also do it. Thank you so much for taking out time today, especially on a festival and late evening. Thank you so much, and really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for listening me very patiently. Yeah, I hope that I'm useful and my insights are useful.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure students are, or you can see the thank yous that are coming in. So, so yes, thank you, Savinder. Sai and Sneha, over to you.
Thank you, Pooja.